Greetings and welcome once again to Conversations with Ed. Gotta say, I'm glad you let me back in your house again, and I hope you do for the next 2 weeks. Have 2 more weeks to go. Boy, these 6 weeks are going by real fast, but I don't know. Maybe it's because we're having so much fun. Isn't that what they say? Well, we're gonna have a good time tonight. Tonight is gonna be an author's night. We're gonna talk about books. And you know what Chris Rock said? If you wanna hide something from a black man, put it in a book. Well, that's changed. We're all reading now. We have some great authors putting out some really good stuff. And we're going to talk to one tonight, returning guest that I had on 2 years ago when she was just getting started, and she's climbing mountains now you wouldn't believe. We're going to get to that in a minute, but you know what I have to do first? Greetings to Peggy, Sarah, Dorothy out at McGuire VA Hospital, Nurse Diane, Nurse Linda, all of the ladies in the lab who take such good care of us. And you know, I do this every week because of what they do for us, guys. Make sure, if you haven't done it yet, get out to the VA hospital, McGuire VA Hospital, and put some paperwork in and get what you deserve, okay? That's the project for this year. Also, last week I was kind of joking and laughing when the camera went back and showed my yellow sock on over my foot that's encased. Let's say I have a problem that most of us have, and I tell you, a lot of us think that it's supposed to be that way. It's called a bunion. And my bunion got to be bone on bone, and I promised my doctor today when I was there that I would give him big ups, him and his staff. So Dr. Wax, thank you so much for doing such an excellent job. And my thanks to your staff, the girl, they call themselves the Jungle Girls. So one's from Philippines, one's from Brazil, and the other young lady is from Charleston, South Carolina. Great group. If you guys need some work done on your toes, you ladies also, don't hesitate to give them a call. In fact, I brought their card in with me, and I think I have it in my pocket. And even though we're not supposed to promote so much on here, I'm going to promote Colonial Orthopedic Foot and Ankle. They're right there on Rivers Bend Road in Chester. Great treatment, great people, and an excellent surgeon. So, Dr. Wax, you happy? All right, we're going to get going now. I don't want to kill too much time here, but get going with this young lady. Her name is Kiera Lee. What's that middle name? I like it.
Shanay.
Shanay. Kiera was on our show, 2 years ago, I believe.
2 years ago.
She was still in college then, and she wrote a book that needed to be written, and we're going to find out while we talk to her why she wrote it. But it's been over 2 years, and the book is just going strong, and it's a subject that all of us know about, but none of us want to talk about. Light skin, dark skin, or in between. And a lot of folks, some of you viewers might not realize it because of maybe who you are or where you live, but there's a sense of prejudice within the black community that I don't think the other communities are aware of. And it has to do with color shades. And it's been going on since we got here. You would think that it would have been ended when slavery and everything else ended. But unfortunately, the mentality that was, I guess, common back during slavery times was instilled into our genetic stream, and we still carry some of those same things with us. I'm not going to talk you to death about it. I'm going to let Kiera explain to us why she wrote the book, what she's doing with the book, and what her plans are for the book. We saw you on the news. You were on the news. You did a great job explaining it. And this is what everybody wants their daughter to be like. Okay? Look at the smile. Graduated from college, getting ready to go for her master's degree.
Yes.
All right. And I know you're going to be doing some more writing and stuff down the road. Tell us about your book.
Well, my book is called Light Skin, Dark Skin, or In Between, and it's about colorism. The definition of colorism is discrimination, usually within an ethnic group, where one's values based on the shade of his or her skin. And it's an issue that I was aware about always, well, I guess since childhood, since I was, preteen, only because I was exposed to it at school. Hearing kids, telling you who to talk to because of their color, or this person is like this because they're lighter, because they're dark. I always knew about it, but it wasn't until I saw an episode of a show with these models, and it was down to the final two. I think it might have been America's Next Top Model. And they were down to the final two, and one was a dark-skinned girl, and she was African American, and she went on to say that she never felt beautiful because of her dark skin. And for some reason, that really provoked me to explore this issue, to do some research, to get into the statistics. And I've always liked to write, so I put two and two together and ultimately wrote the book and self-published in August of 2010. And since then, I've been speaking and working with kids, and I was featured on CNN's Black in America with Soledad O'Brien. They followed me working with a group of kids in Henrico County doing a workshop on colorism and self-esteem. And, since I've self-published the book, I've been going around and, working with this subject with children and adults alike.
Whoa. Whoa, that's very interesting. Now, explain to the audience what you're talking about when you're saying this, because, again, it's something that we know about. All of us know about it, but, again, we never talk about it. So you tell us a little bit about what your book is about.
Okay.
Don't tell them all, because we want them to buy the book, but just tell it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, the book is around a friendship between two girls, two children. One is dark skinned and one is light skinned. And without giving it away, the book really shows how colorism affects their friendship. It shows how they're treated differently by their peers. It shows by how they're treated differently by teachers, by their own parents, by themselves. It really just shows how this form of discrimination affects them, affects their friendship, and affects who they are. But ultimately, at the end of the book, after you see them go through some things, it's resolved that whatever color you are is beautiful, whether you're light skinned, whether you're dark skinned, it shouldn't matter. And that's the moral that I want everyone to get from the book. And my dream is for the book to get into the hands of every child. I really do. And people have told me that they enjoy the book, that their children have benefited from the book. It's not only the message of colorism, it's the message of self-esteem, because what I've been seeing, speaking and going around and doing groups with kids, I'm seeing kids tell other kids, you're too dark-skinned for that to be your mother. I don't believe that that's your mother. Or sit down with your black self. Or to kids who are light-skinned, oh, you're not really black. You're too light. You're whack because you're light-skinned. Or all these different things. I'm hearing, children, and I'm seeing children do it right in front of me. Just bully and tease and taunt each other because of something, like you said, that was set up during slavery times. Because we know, or you may not know, but colorism originated, with the Willie Lynch speech and with slavery, where a slave owner wrote a speech teaching other slave owners how to keep slaves oppressed, and it was to keep them separated and to, kind of discourage unity. And one of the ways to discourage that unity was to keep slaves separate by their shade, keep, light-skinned slaves in the house and dark-skinned slaves outside, so to speak. And, years and years and years later, we still have this mentality going on. Even when I was being filmed by CNN, when I was working with the kids, this little boy, while I'm in session, he calls out another girl and tells her that she's ugly because of her color, because she's dark-skinned. And so, I confronted him, and I confronted the situation. And I asked him, I said, do you not like dark-skinned people? And he told me, no, I don't like dark-skinned people.
Was he white or black?
He's black. He's black, and he's brown-skinned.
Yeah.
And so I said, would you like me if I was darker? And he looked at me, and he said in my face, he looked straight in my eyes, no, I wouldn't like you if you were darker. So this is something that our kids, that was just last year. And I hear kids, I hear adults talking like this, throwing shade and putting each other down and doing horrible things because of color. And it really kind of makes me a little angry when people will tell me colorism isn't an issue anymore. Why are you talking about it? It's in the past. You know, people aren't seeing color. Well, no, quite the contrary. People are seeing color, and colorism is alive and well.
It's very obvious. We can just look at President Obama and see how he's been treated for this first session and also going into this session. And I mean, the rhetoric of no. And it's all because he's a black man. Okay, you wouldn't let a country fall apart. I mean, it's just common, it's just ignorant to me to let a country get into the situation that we're in because you want to say no to this black man who happens to be brilliant and who happens to have a plan to get us from A to B where we need to go. Now, how are the kids responding when you tell them all this? When you start talking about how do they respond?
With the workshops, kids do great when I work with them because kids are candid, kids are honest, kids don't know how to keep stuff from you and they don't know.
Oh, already. Okay, good deal. Hello, caller? Hello? Hello, caller? Can't hear you. Call back. Phone didn't work. But anyhow, you should probably get a lot of calls because this is a subject that needs to be talked about. But go ahead. What were you saying?
Working with the kids, they're so honest, and they'll say, like the little boy I told you about, no, I wouldn't like you if you were darker. So it's easy to address those things because unlike adults, they're not trying to hide it.
Hello, caller.
Yes, good evening. How y'all doing?
Doing fine.
Well,
how you doing?
Oh, fine. I got to share this story, okay? I'm going to be quick. This was like in the early 90s, and this guy, we had like a couple of lunch dates, and he was wanting to maybe date me. But by the end of the week, for some reason, I just didn't feel like I wanted to be with him. And he said to me, "Why not? I'm light-skinned." And even though it happens all around us, for somebody to come out like that, I couldn't even ask. I just had to walk away. You know, even though it's all around us, it's in your family, you know, real bad. And you know, it was just so shocking for somebody to even say that to me.
I imagine so. Now I hope you did walk away permanently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to walk. I couldn't say it. How could I answer that?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that story because you probably are telling a story that a lot of people can tell.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it needs to be told. Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, and again, you know, I look at my own family and my sister, I have an older sister, 2 years older than me. And she has sickle cell trait. Both sickle cell traits. Now, when you say both sickle cell traits, people look at you like, both sickle cell traits. Well, yeah, there's the African sickle cell trait and the Mediterranean sickle cell trait.
Oh, wow.
Okay, because it's the same, you know, the curve, the way the earth is set up. But anyhow, Ancestry, when they did the DNA on her to find out, African, Italian, Irish, and American Indian. So she got the sickle cell trait, the Mediterranean, from the Italian part on my dad's side, and the African part on my dad's side. My mother was American Indian, Native American. So you look, and there can be so much mixture in families. But fortunately, in our family, we were never allowed to discuss anything that was detrimental as far as color was concerned. My father, Driving Miss Daisy was about my father's brother, okay? I don't believe I got a blank on the actor's name who played it, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman played that part. When my dad saw him, he just couldn't believe that the man played the part so much like his brother. Hello, caller.
Yeah, how you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Hi.
I'm doing fine. You know, I grew up in the 50s and the 60s. My grandfather looked like Clark Gable.
Okay.
Now, the young lady there, she may not know who that was. I know you do.
Oh yeah, I know who Clark Gable was. Yeah,
But
he was a top club star.
my mother told me she went on a plantation with her grandparents, and she told me that came from slavery.
Yeah, it did, absolutely.
And my great grandmother, I knew her. She died in 1990. She was about 117.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, we really didn't know how old she was because birth certificates didn't come out
No, they didn't
for
have
black
that.
people till the 1900s.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
And she told me that the master, that's the way she talked. She said some of her sisters look just like the master's kids.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that went on, and that's just a self-hate thing that I kind of thought we had kind of got out of that.
No.
But evidently we passing on these bad things.
Yep.
It's part of the conundrum, as they say, because
Yeah.
we're not addressing these things that need to be out of the way. And see, they go under cover,
Yep.
but they simmer under there, just like she's talking about this kid telling her that he wouldn't like her if she was dark. You know,
Yeah, that's crazy. I like what you mentioned about. I've never seen. He is a president. He is a gifted man.
talented
A man
to the
of
extreme.
color, and they don't want to work with him.
At
That's the
all.
whole. You told the truth.
There it is. So,
They do not want to work with him.
and that's what all the no is coming from. I appreciate your call there,
Okay.
brother. Thank you. And please keep watching. I got 2 more
Okay.
weeks, all right?
And even with Barack Obama, a senator way back in '08 had said that the only reason that Barack Obama was even a candidate was because he was light-skinned. That's a senator of our own country. And he's not black. He's not black. So colorism is an issue in the black community and in communities of color, but the mentality is within everyone.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it ultimately stemmed from racism. Like the caller was saying about, the master-slave relations and, producing, mixed kids and the kids being of the slave master's kids. That's where a lot of it comes from as
Yeah.
well. And that even created even more of a division because, you're perpetuating the whole house slave and field slave mentality. And just my whole platform with studying colorism, with shedding awareness on it, and with working with people, learning about the issue, it's self-esteem, number one, because like we've said, this is a self-hate thing.
Yeah.
It's a self-hate thing. Because no matter if you're light or if you're dark, if you enjoy, throwing shade or, dissing or, just tormenting someone, no matter if they're light or they're dark, we're still, they're still black. They're still black. And this happens in other communities of color. They're still Asian or they're still Latino. So ultimately, we're dividing our own community when we do this stuff.
Now
And that's what hurts me the most. And I just believe we need to be unified. And, if we keep doing this divisive stuff and team light skin, team dark skin parties, we're all going to fall. And,
they have that now?
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
At
see, I
clubs.
wasn't
Oh,
aware of
yeah.
that. But you just mentioned, you said that the Latin Hispanic community. It's very extreme
Oh, yeah.
in that community.
Yes.
Very extreme,
Yes.
okay? And it even goes further than that. You find Dominicans don't want to be considered Caribbeans. They're Spanish. They're not, no, we're not Caribbeans. What are you saying? You're not black?
Yep.
Is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have this argument with my Hispanic friends on an ongoing basis, okay? Because you say we're going to the Caribbean. Yeah, I'm gonna go down to the Caribbean, I go to Dominica. No, we're not Dominican. No, I mean, we're not Caribbean. What do you mean, you live in the Caribbean? And you find some Puerto Ricans say the same thing. So it's in all communities of color.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because the whole concept, as we've alluded to, as we've been talking so far, the field slave and the house slave, that was instituted so that the house slave would have a sense of loyalty to the master. Number one, he was probably the son, a son or a daughter. Hello, caller? Hello?
Yes, it's me.
Hey.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I'm enjoying your show. I have a question and a comment.
Go ahead.
My comment is, it's kind of hard to believe, but it's true that we still going through this, color thing amongst ourselves. A lady I work with told me, her mother told her when she ever get married, make sure she marry a light-skinned man with good hair, so she have good-looking children. I mean, I can't believe we even talking about this subject. But I'd like for the sister to go into depth about this light-skinned, dark-skinned party thing. I never heard of it. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think we all should hear a little bit more about that. Thank you, caller. I appreciate that.
Well,
first of all, let me just answer what the caller was talking about when he was saying that the young lady the mother was telling the girl, look for a light-skinned guy. That's called marrying up.
Yep, marrying up.
Because the whole idea is to dissipate the black blood and make everybody, that the mother's saying you'll be more approved, more accepted if you're light-skinned and your children are light-skinned. But go ahead and answer, because I had never really heard about this party business either.
Yes, there are party flyers. There are even parties in Richmond where there are flyers advertised, and the heading of the flyer is light skin versus dark skin. And there are two girls on the flyer who barely have anything on, and then, one's light skin and then one's dark skin, and they're staring at each other as if, they're going against each other, like two boxers about to hit the ring,
really?
Or two people about to fight. And there are these parties or these events at clubs, and, they're promoting different things for the different shades. If you're light skin, you're free before 11. If you're dark skin, you're free before 9, and stuff like that.
Are you kidding?
And then you have to pick, like maybe you have to pick the prettiest light-skinned girl and the prettiest dark-skinned girl, and whatever. I've never been to one, but and I don't plan on going to one. But the point is, it's promoting this division in our community. If you're going to go to a party and you're going to separate yourselves once you get there, this is what was done to us systematically in the early 1900s with the brown paper bag test.
Oh yeah.
Why on earth would you want to perpetuate that and reenact that in 2013? I mean, I can't understand that. I say I can't, and then I can, because this mentality is just ingrained in this society.
As a young lady, where do you think it's coming from now? Because number one, the youngsters now don't really know too much about history, so they don't know too much about slavery.
And that needs to change.
Yes,
we need
absolutely.
to get the awareness on colorism, and we need to tell people that this was a slave owner's dream, and we're living out a slave owner's dream. We need to tell people the statistics, like light-skinned Latinos make $10,000 more per year than dark-skinned Latinos. We need to, get this information out there, and that's what I'm all about, so we know where this is coming from and maybe know ourselves a little bit better.
Well, you're talking about the economics now, and I imagine that same prejudice would be the word, I guess, is very evident in the workplace, because you just said there was a $10,000 difference in pay.
For Latinos who are light-skinned versus dark-skinned, yes.
Okay, is there the same differential among the black race?
I know that there are plenty of studies that have been done. There was a study done at the University of Georgia about employment, and they gave people a job description, and they gave people...
Go ahead, I'm telling her. Hold on 1 second, caller, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
They gave people a job description, and they gave them 2 different resumes, and they gave pictures, and one was of a dark-skinned African-American, one was of a light-skinned African-American, and the resume of the most qualified person was matched to the picture of the dark-skinned man, and the less qualified resume was with the light-skinned man, and the job description was for a managerial position in a business. And overwhelmingly, the majority of the people that were, asked to participate in the survey and the research picked the light-skinned man, who was less qualified than dark-skinned man. So yes, it's evident in the workplace, most definitely, and that's part of the reason why it's perpetuated. That's part of the reason why people are risking mercury poisoning to get skin bleaching creams.
I'm sorry, caller. How you doing?
Oh, fine. It's me again. I wanted to ask a question. What do you think about Willie Lynch? Because I think a lot of people are trying to phase out that he even existed. And I had an argument with a person, and I told him, I said, for one thing, back in those days, no white mother was going to name their son Willie.
You're right.
For one thing. And so I started doing some research, and I think I found him, of course, under another name over there in the Caribbean. And I do believe he existed. So I just wanted to know, what do you think about that?
Well,
Okay. Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
question, and keep watching. Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
I've also heard that, that the Willie Lynch speech is fake, or Willie Lynch never existed, and all these, all these findings to prove that he didn't exist and everything. But to me, honestly, whether he existed or not does not faze me, because what's outlined in that speech, and if you can, you should Google the Willie Lynch speech and please read it, and you'll agree with me that all those things that are highlighted, all those methods that are proposed, to keep blacks oppressed and to keep them separate, are all things that are going on now and that have gone on in the colonial days and slavery days. So we can sit all day and argue back and forth of whether Willie Lynch was really a person, if this was a made-up person, or where he was from, or anything like that. But we cannot deny the fact that these divisions exist. Separation between shades, separation between hair textures. In that Willie Lynch speech, it talks about, keeping people with more coarse hair separate from people with finer hair. That stuff that's going on now. I mean, what about the phrase good hair?
Oh, yeah.
So
tell me about it.
The bottom line is that, these things do exist. These separations do exist. What we need to do, instead of sitting around and arguing whether or not Willie Lynch existed or where he's from or whatever, we need to address possible solutions to these problems, these ills in our community.
Well, what would your suggestion be to do that? You were waiting for that, weren't you?
I knew it was coming.
Okay, go right ahead. What would you suggest?
For my platform, what I stand for is starting with the youth.
Yeah.
I enjoy working with kids. Like I said earlier, they're very candid and they're fresh-minded and they're not going to hold back. We need to address our youth, as early as possible, when they can understand these things, and teach them about slavery, teach them about history, teach them about where these things come from. And on top of that, reinforce self-esteem. Don't forget to tell your child, that they're beautiful. Don't forget to praise them for the successes, that they've had, for the good things that they're doing. I mean, those little things, it may sound little, but it's so...
That means so much.
Yeah, it's so important.
Well, if you've been watching the show, we've taken the martial arts concept and are using that as a means of education and training and self-defense and also self-esteem, as you were saying, because one of the things that caused this juvenile delinquency concept is that the young people don't feel like they can belong to anything, and then they wind up, the gang becomes the family. So we're trying to establish the fact that you don't need the gang. All you need is the gang that's within you. There's a strength within people that they never really get a chance to experience because they run away from situations instead of running right into it. We are very remarkable instruments, human beings, are very, very remarkable instruments, because we are adaptable, and we can adapt to this, that, and the other. What we need to learn how to do is to adapt to ourselves, all right, and learn how to be comfortable. Now, I come from an interracial situation in that for the first 11 years of my life, I didn't see any black people. We lived up in Pennsylvania, up in the mountains in Pennsylvania. My mom and dad were domestics at that time. I've told this story on one of our other shows there. Very fortunate in that the people that they worked for, the woman, her name was Catherine Brett, was British, and she had a different mindset. And you would think it would be more of a prejudicial attitude from her being British, but it was very liberal. And she sent my mom to school for nursing.
Wow.
And they sent my dad to school to get any kind of training that he wanted. And people, again, have heard me tell stories about Stan the Man, my father, who could do just about anything, okay? But we didn't see any black people. I being the only black boy in our school, and I don't want to make it sound like we were in the, I had 14 kids in our school. We lived in the mountains in the country. It was a 2-room school, grades 1 to 4 on one side, 5 to 8 on the other side. At breakfast, when we got to school, I'd get into a fight. At lunchtime, I would get into a fight. And after school, I would get into a fight, and then on different occasions. But again, growing up in the country, a fight was, okay, man, you win, you know. Oh no, don't hit him, he's down, you know. Let me see. Hello, caller.
Yes, very good show, very good topic, and I must admit I'm shocked, and I call myself a brother that's pretty enlightened as to what's happening as far as our people are going. What I'd like to know is, do you think this is part of a movement to lighten up this country, to lighten up the world? And if so, is this movement being promoted by our people or someone else? I'd just like to know what you think about that, you know, with the media promoting whiteness and the, you know, Hollywood bleaching their skin and things like that, Beyonce and whatnot. So I'd just like to hear your opinion on that.
That's a good question. Thank you, caller. You want to answer that one?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Well, I kind of like the word movement that you used. I would say, you know, that it's been a movement. Like you had said, the media. You have to look at the images that we see. You know, we have to look at movies, and we have to, you know, we have to analyze how a lot of times in movies, when you think about it, the villain or the mistress is dark skin, or
it's on TV.
The wife is, you know, light skinned, or it can go both ways, because colorism is an issue that affects light skinned and dark skinned people. I'm definitely not being one sided. You may have a show where, you know, maybe the light skinned guy is portrayed as, you know, the punk or like the pretty boy, and the dark skinned man is over sexualized and, you know, just seeming like a, you know, big, over-sexualized, sort of over-masculine being. You know, we see these things in the media all the time, and we see them, so you know that what that means. If we see them, the children see them. The media, this whole skin bleaching thing. There's skin bleaching cream everywhere.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really everywhere. I actually went into a beauty supply store on the South Side, actually looking for it, you know, to use it in my demonstrations and use it in my workshops, and I found like 5 different kinds. A lot of times in, you know, the islands, people are using skin bleaching creams that aren't FDA approved.
Yeah, they're ruining their skin too.
And they don't have to be approved, and it's burning, you know, it's burning their skin. If you Google pictures or go on YouTube, you can find videos of women that have used skin bleaching cream, you know, overseas, and there's 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over them. So I definitely feel like racism set the stage, definitely for a movement, you know, to promote whiteness. I wouldn't say a movement, maybe I'd say an agenda to promote whiteness, because it's been set up in this country for ever since it has been, even, you know, with Native Americans, even, you know, take it way back, that, you know, white was right. It's been like that forever.
And you know the strange thing about it, you know, now that we are able to dig so far into history and get the real stories and whatnot. And I know a lot of folks don't want to hear about it, but you know, when the Asians came across the Bering Strait and came into North America, they were greeted by Africans. Africans have been here for 16,000 years, okay? Hello, caller? Hello?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a statement. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We'd like to hear it.
Oh, okay. And see, they're not those people people who are trying to light themselves up are really not paying attention. Look at how many white women
are trying to be dark.
Are trying to be dark. I mean, and hurting themselves at the same time.
Yeah. The extreme example is the suntan lady. I mean, that's crazy.
It's weird. I mean, if they would pay attention, they would notice that they like to take our songs. They like the way we dress. They like in other words, they try to be like us.
Well, and it's historical. Because as we were having a discussion before we came on the air about how the centers of education and everything came out of Africa, and the European royalty actually is part black.
That's right.
But they don't want to admit it. But you're right. We go to the islands one day. I'm gonna turn you off now just in case.
And they even had European black queens.
Oh yeah, and kings.
You know
And when you I don't know if you've traveled or not, but when you go to Europe, when you see the pictures of Jesus Christ and the disciples and everybody, they're all black.
Of course.
The mother, Virgin Mother.
That's why the Statue of Liberty, they sit up there and came over here black. They sit that back because they wanted it white.
And it was sent over here to commemorate the freedom of the slaves.
Yeah.
That's what it was sent for. Most people don't know that either.
Yeah, people got to pay attention. I'm so glad I'm dark and I don't know what to do.
And black is beautiful.
Yep.
Black is beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You know, I'm reminded of an incident when we were playing. I used to be a musician, and we were playing in a club, and we played at this club regularly in upstate New York. It was called the Deercrest Inn. And it was all white, young, rich white kids. I mean, when you pull in, all you saw was Porsches and Corvettes and Cadillacs and whatnot. We had another group of brothers that sang. So on this particular night, we had invited them to come up and sing with us, right? So they get to the door. They don't have women with them because they're coming to sing. They didn't want to let them into the club because they were black men without women.
Wow.
So went out to talk, see if we could get things straightened out. The owner said absolutely not. We came back, our band leader called us back on stage. Bobby Boyd, the theme song that you hear playing, Bobby Boyd, got back on stage, struck up the band and sang, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud." And then we left. We got off the stage and left. Well, don't you know all of the kids left with us?
Wow.
The kids in the club, they all left with us. 2 weeks later, the owner of the club called Bobby back and said, "Would you please come back? I apologize, and would you please come back and bring whoever you want?"
Wow.
Okay? So it happens, and you experience it. I've had quite a few experiences with it. And the thing that you just said about teaching our kids, the Jewish faith and the Jewish religion, the Jewish people went through and have gone through so much down through the ages. They say, never again, and don't forget. Yeah. And that's where we are lacking because we, and I'm guilty, just like I'm sure a lot of our viewing audiences, we do not teach our children about the history. And nowadays trying to teach a youngster about it, a teenager, he don't want to hear it because they don't believe it. Okay? No, I wouldn't let anybody. Now they couldn't do that to me. They have no concept of what it's all about. But it's very interesting to have a young lady like yourself, excuse me, get so involved in this particular project. Where are you going with this? Because you're getting ready to go for your master's.
Yeah, I'll be going to.
I love hearing that.
I'll be going to UVA in the fall.
Going to a good school too, yeah.
Get my master's.
And you graduated
in
from a good school.
And I graduated from University of Richmond last May.
Outstanding.
Last year.
Okay.
I plan on continuing to speak on colorism and to speak on self-esteem. As I'm contacted, I'd love to continue working with the youth and working with kids. I'm very passionate with working with children.
What happens when you do a session with a group? I don't know how big your groups are, but what's the aftermath? what's the aftermath of the group? Are there any changes?
Yes. What I've been doing, I have a survey and I do entrance and exit interviews along with those surveys. And so I'll ask the kids, I'll talk to the kids, have you ever felt bad about your color? How do you feel about yourself? Use 5 words to describe yourself, and a whole series of questions. And I'll get that stuff at first, and I'll read through them all. Number 1, to get to know the kids better, and number 2, just to see where everybody's at. Then after I do my workshop, which is usually a course of a few weeks or however long it works out with time, I'll do exit surveys, and I'll see results, and I'll see overwhelming results.
So they do learn something.
Where kids will say, like, I hate my color, I hate being dark, or I wish I had better hair, to I like my hair, I like my skin, I like who I am.
That's nice.
And to me, that's reaffirming to me, and that's something I need to see, because I need to know, is what I'm doing effective? Because ultimately that's my goal, to teach about colorism and to raise self-esteem.
Where do you speak, and how does someone get you to come in and talk to a group?
Okay, I'll speak anywhere, anybody that wants to hear the message, because it's all about the message of spreading awareness on this issue and boosting self-esteem. So I've spoken at churches, spoken with youth groups, spoken to adults,
you want to give some contact information?
Yes.
Right.
You can contact me. I have a website, theblackoftheberry.org. You can contact me there. You can email me, kiera.lee@richmond.edu. Or you can call my business line, 804-337-6197.
Now, what do we do as far as being able to purchase the book?
It's available on my website, theblackoftheberry.org. There's a tab that says book and documentary, and you can purchase it there.
How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well, especially after CNN and everything.
Oh yeah, no, they put and I was so proud of you. I saw that. I said, look at that. There's my girl. You did a great job.
And it's interesting though with CNN. I got a lot of flack with the brown paper bag test I did with the kids.
And I heard a lot of flack.
Yes,
a lot of criticism. Why did she do that?
Yeah,
why would she do something like that to the kids?
They were too young, and you shouldn't have done that. I heard it all, but I'm used to getting criticism with the work I do. I'm very used to it. It's a very regular thing because it's something people don't like to talk about, swept under the rug. But my thing is with the brown paper bag test, it's hard for me to hear people telling me you shouldn't have done that. You had no business doing that with those kids. Where that's the same classroom I walked into 10 minutes before that. Kids saying, "Sit down with your black self," or "You're black and ugly," or "You're not black enough," or all these taunting things that they're saying to one another and knocking each other down. The only way to confront this is to confront it head on.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
You're going into classrooms, you're going into after school programs where this is the climate, and it's regular that the tone is to tease each other because of their color. Put him down because he's light. Oh, he ain't really black because he got that straight hair. You got to meet people where you're at. And so if we keep pretending that this isn't a problem, don't do anything, don't do anything like that, don't do anything too upfront, how are we going to get past this, and how are we going to teach kids about this issue, and how on earth are we going to help build self-esteem?
Okay, caller. Thanks for holding.
This is very interesting, and I'm wondering, I think somebody stole your idea, because I don't know if it was on CNN or another television station, where they had the parents to come in with the young children. And
That was your show.
Kids certain questions that implied racism, dealing with color. And the parents couldn't believe it because they weren't racist. At least they didn't think they were. They were white and middle class black parents. Did you see that?
Yes, I did, and that was tackling racism. So this is with colorism. I know colorism and racism are very closely related, but that was addressing racism, and that was a very thought-provoking piece. I did see that. It was talking about how kids see other kids in their color. Oh, I'd love to. I've actually applied for grant money before to do my documentary. I was denied the money, but thank goodness, I have a family that's supportive, and they got the money together for me to get the HD camera, and my mother drove me around to film people, and so if you don't get the help, you gotta reach into your networks.
Did we answer your question for you, caller?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Keep your good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, when you say you're doing a documentary,
I did it already. An amateur
done.
documentary. It's also called Light Skin, Dark Skin, or In Between.
Where can you see it?
I have it because I use it with my workshops and when I go speak. So I use it as like a learning tool when I'm.
Is this something that's viewable?
No, not right now. Not right now.
Because we could talk about getting it on the air. Yeah,
we could. I have it on DVD.
Yeah.
I've just been very careful with it. I don't want anyone to take my.
You're right.
That's why I haven't put it on the internet.
Yeah, no, that's right.
But I could definitely share it with you to air on TV. Love to.
Then we'd have to work something out to talk about getting something like that done.
Yes,
And I think that would be a good idea. Now, we got to this point. Tell us where you're going from here. I know that you said you want to continue on with the project and whatnot, but how do you plan on continuing on with the project like that?
To just continue what I'm doing with the speaking, and I'm willing to go wherever the Lord leads me, whoever contacts me, find a way to get there and to speak to that group. I also write on my website, theblackoftheberry.org. It's not just about colorism, but I talk about everything. Issues that affect our community in general. So I'm always writing on there, and I also feature people in the community who are role models, so to speak, for our youth. So I'm always looking for, on the website, is Bold Brothers and Successful Sisters. I'm always looking for those people to feature, so our youth and even so adults, have a role model to look up to, and someone who's been through, a struggle that they could look up to and see, well, they had a bad childhood, they dealt with bullying, they own their own business, or they're a lawyer now, I can get there too, motivation.
Oh yeah, it works, it definitely works. Mm-hmm. And once again, I go back to the martial arts, because that right now, with the bullying aspect, not only the kid that's being bullied, we will stop the bully, okay, because of the training and whatnot. And next week, folks, that watch me on a regular basis, okay, I want you to tell all your friends to tune in, because I'm going to have some of the people from the dojo come right in here, and our excellent camera people here are going to work it out so that we can show you why you should be studying some form of martial arts and why you should have your children in it. You like to hear your kids when you talk to them and they answer you and they say, yes, sir, or no, sir, or yes, please, may I have, please. That's what they learn. They learn self-esteem, self-respect through hard work and through training. And they took all of the physical activities out of the school. Look at the weight. You look at these kids in school and weighing 200, 300 pounds. They're killing themselves, okay? Do we want to save our children? Yes. How do we do it? You institute programs that are specifically tried and true. I think if you've been around something for a couple of thousand years, it might work, okay? So your thing goes right in with it. So what I'm thinking I would like to have you do is come out and talk to our youngsters at the dojo, because we have the children come from the Housing Authority. Okay. We have them. We have the children that come to us from several different agencies, quite a few youngsters over there.
I'd love to.
And they would, I think, appreciate hearing from you. So I'm gonna I get with Sensei folks and see how we can arrange that. Okay. And if you are looking next week, like I said, tune in to the show, because I'm gonna have the guys on and some ladies on, and we're gonna show what you would learn and what the benefits are. Okay, I told you I was bullied as a kid. I haven't been bullied since I was a kid.
That's good.
Okay, but they all go together. And I got bullied because of the colorism, because I was light-skinned, and guess what? I had straight hair. So, and then I was the only black kid. Now, I told you about when I was the only black kid. Then we moved to New York from Pennsylvania out to Long Island, where there was nothing but
Where
black
my
Jews.
family's from, Long Island.
Wait, where about?
Coram.
Get out of here. Really, I'm from Hempstead.
Oh, wow.
So anyhow, I went to school that day and I was like, and naturally, the first day of school, I'm the new kid. I'm the light-skinned guy with straight hair that talked funny. And one of the young men decided he wanted to copy my tests. And you know, where I grew up, you don't copy tests. No, you can't copy my test. I'm gonna get you after school. Well, guess what? Okay, I've been doing this for years, right? And we got outside. I didn't know anything about boxing because we didn't do that. You know, we wrestled and whatnot. And the guy put his hands up, and I didn't know how to put up my hands, and he hit me in my eye, bam. And the fella that became my daughter's godfather, Jimmy Williams, came up behind me and he said, "You're holding your hands wrong, man." And I said, "How do you hold them?" He said, "Like this." And I put my hands up like that, and the guy hit me in the same spot and split it open. I went home with my eye all bloused out like that. My father beat me up, and my uncle came over, and he beat me up. He said, "But I'm gonna show you how to fight real quick." So he gave me a real quick lesson, and the lesson was garbage can top. So I went to school the next day, and I fought all of the brothers and the cousins, and the last one that I fought was 16 years old, and I was 11. But I wrapped the garbage can around his head, and nobody bothered me anymore.
Wow.
Okay? But once again, that's because I was the light-skinned guy with straight hair.
I have a great uncle that was light-skinned with straight hair. He was teased really bad too back in the day, you know. So it's definitely a two-sided issue. It's not just something that affects dark-skinned people.
Oh no!
Like I said, it's divisive, so it affects both sides.
It's a tool,
It's a tool.
and again, historically used down through the ages, and we need to stop it.
Yes.
And you're right at that point where I think you can, because of the way you're presenting it. Okay. And I like the way you presented it.
I just think it's important not to sugarcoat, you know, and to address this issue. It's been swept under the rug so long. And last year, I did a theater production at University of Richmond called Under the Rug, where I wrote a series of monologues and I had a cast read them.
You're a busy lady, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm a busybody. I don't like to sit still.
Okay.
So I had that theater production done at school, and you know, I had a talk back after where we had the cast and I was sat on the stage, and the audience asked questions and shared experiences and stuff like that. And the whole reason I titled that Under the Rug was because it's unveiling what was under the rug. I wrote monologues from different perspectives. I wrote a monologue from like a light-skinned male who was using the privilege, you know, and was abusing his wife. I wrote from the perspective of a light-skinned person or a dark-skinned person that was looking down on light-skinned people and saying that light-skinned guys were, you know, pretty boys and couldn't handle it and this and that. And I wrote a perspective of a child that's at that crossroads where actually on stage she's holding a dark-skinned doll and then a white doll, and she's saying, "I think this one's pretty, I think this one's nice.
Tried, that's a test.
This
right.
one is ugly, and I don't like my lips and my nose and my skin, and I wish I was like her." So I had, you know, I kind of tried to cover the gamut of different perspectives of colorism. And in the beginning, when I first walked out on the stage, I was also part of it. I had a rug, and I lifted the rug because I was unveiling what was under the rug, and that's what we all need to do. You know, I'm no different than anybody else. We all need to unveil what's under the rug, so to speak.
I like that. I like that. I might take that one from you. Unveil what's under the rug. That's pretty good. Okay. All right. So again, we're talking about you going for your master. What's your master's going to be in?
Education. Social foundations is the concentration, but it's a master's in education.
So your end goal is to be a teacher?
No, I don't want to be a teacher.
Good. I want to hear this.
I mean, I enjoyed what I do, the work I do with workshops and everything, but I see myself more as either starting a program or perhaps starting a school. I would love to do that. That's my big dream. But
starting a school.
Yes.
What type of school?
Either a private school or a charter school.
with a theme?
Oh,
or?
yes. I kind of have I have a little notebook. It's like my little secret notebook. I'm always jotting down notes on how I want it to be. And I would like it to focus on self-esteem. I would like it to focus on heritage, because I feel like a lot of it with our youth is we don't know where we come from. We don't know our history. And of course, focus on academics, but I think self-esteem and heritage/history are very important, and I would like to focus on that with whatever I end up doing ultimately.
When you go home, I want you to go on Google and Google sleeping preacher.
Okay.
And a picture's gonna come up. It's my great-grandfather. He preached sermons in his sleep for 40 years.
Wow.
And he couldn't speak, he spoke slave dialect. He couldn't read and write.
Wow.
But when he preached in his sleep, he recited from the Bible, as they said, meter, verse, and chapter in perfect King's English. Wow. And wherever he left off, that's where he started the next time. And he did it for 40 years. Wow. Okay? Became such a, they tried to get him to move to D.C. so the visiting dignitaries wouldn't have to travel to the deep south. That's what the book said, but he refused to move. And that's how the Perry boys made their fortunes. That's all of my uncles and etc. And they made so much out of it, the property-wise, that now that was my great-grandfather. And we're talking about, this one had 20 children, that one, back in those days, 14 kids, this and it came all the way down. I had 29 acres of land. Okay, so to just to show you how much they did over those years. And when you see that picture, you're gonna say, okay.
Wow.
Okay, because most black folks can't go back. That we have a cemetery down in South Carolina that goes back to 1816, I think is the first one in there. Wow. But again, down south,
yes.
my mother, very, very light, American Indian, the whole Native American thing. My father, very, very black. They got married. Here we are, all right? I remember going down south with my dad and mom for the family, to get together at Grandpa's house. And my mother would have to go into the restaurants and things to get the food because my dad couldn't do it.
Wow.
And then they had the Green Book. I don't know, you wouldn't know about, about the Green Book. Yeah, okay, they had a list of places coming down Route 1 was the only way to go south then. That it was okay for you to stop and eat and you'd be greeted well like that. It was almost like the railroad, Underground Railroad, or the slave trail where you knew there's certain spots that you could go. That's how this book was. And we got to be where we knew the people, because every year it'd be like a caravan of all of us going back south to my grandfather's to get the crop in, and also they would have a big, it was a big family gathering there. They called it family reunion, but it was more than that. And that was back when I was growing up in the 40s.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the South, because that's another endeavor of mine that I'm very interested in. I want to get down south to like the Gulf region, to the deep South, and I want to do these workshops down there. I want to talk to the kids down there, because colorism, I mean, if you think it's bad here, it's even more prevalent down there. Yeah. And I'm sure you can attest to that.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you that. It's like that. But where you want to go to Charleston.
Charleston, South Carolina?
Yeah, and you want to go to Savannah, Georgia. And then you want to go go west to New Orleans and those places like that. But I would start right because you have a gathering right there. And we're on the countdown. I have to get out of here, folks. This has been a real nice conversation. The name of the book is Light Skin, Dark Skin, or In Between. Please go on her website, which is
theblackoftheberry.org.
theblackoftheberry.org. Order the book, support it, and not only that, share it or tell somebody else to buy it. We want to support our folks, and this is a real important issue. And I thank you. And it's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, listen.
Good to see you too.
Well, when I do my next 6-week series, I'm going to have you come back on again and tell us how you've been doing since then.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Your family's outside, your mom, you have a lovely mother and father.
Thank you.
And that's a lot of where you get your stuff from.
That's where all of it's from.
Okay, and that you acknowledge.
My whole family.
That's great. That's great.